Hello, and welcome back to the Follow Your Spark podcast. I am truly excited and honored to have today's guest, Nii Tetteh, here with me today, back on the podcast. And if you are listening to this and you are craving deeper connection in your life, whether deeper connection to yourself or deeper connection to other people, that is exactly what we're going to be diving into today, both on an energetic level, an emotional level, a physical level, a relational level. This is also going to be in particular relevant if you are a dancer of any kind, whether a solo dancer or a partner dancer, or you want to explore dance. We're going to be talking a lot about that. And even if you don't dance at all, I know something in this conversation is going to be useful and insightful for you if you're craving deeper connection. So to introduce this incredible human who is sitting across the screen from me, Nii is the founder of Danceful Haven, a Washington, D.C. based movement organization dedicated to helping people build stronger connections, communication, and confidence through partner dance. He's been dancing since the age of 16, training in all kinds of styles from salsa, bachata, merengue, kizomba, urban kids, Brazilian zouk, all the things. And he has taught locally, nationally, internationally, sharing his work at all kinds of festivals, dance schools, workshops, and helping people really deepen into this exploration of dance. And he's really known for his thoughtful and structured teaching style, and he helps dancers understand not just what to do, but how to actually listen, adapt, and communicate through movement. And his approach really blends technical clarity, musical awareness, relational insight, and giving dancers practical tools they can use on and off the dance floor. So I'm so excited for this conversation, and I always love to share how I met people that I interview on this podcast. So I met Nii back in March 2025, of course, on the dance floor. And from the first dance I had with you, I was really moved by the level of presence, the level of care, the level of intention that you brought to that dance. And it's something that I find can be really rare to experience with people, whether on the dance floor or off the dance floor. So I'm so excited to have you back for this conversation and to really dive into what can help people connect on deeper levels. So thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you for having me on this podcast. I remember that moment we met as well. I remember you also showing up with presence and intention, and that was a really powerful connection that night. Thank you for rising to the occasion.
My pleasure. So this episode is going to be a little bit different than my normal podcast interviews in that it's going to be a true conversation. And we're going to be in that essence of leading and following and trading back and forth. So I'm really excited for how this conversation will unfold. So to kick us off, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Thank you. Connection is kind of a really big topic. I have a million things to say about it, but hopefully in this conversation, we'll distill down to what people really would like to know about and what will help raise people's awareness around connection. But before we even get started, I'm curious why you were interested in having this conversation.
Yeah. So connection is something I think about and have thought about all the time. I'm someone whose love language is connection. I will often ask people to put their phones in a basket if they come over for dinner. And it's really also been through dance that I have found the ability to connect with both myself and other people on a deeper level. And this particular topic in this particular moment in time, I've really been called to explore this more myself of how do I show up more powerfully in the world, both through connecting with myself on deeper levels and really understanding my own emotional intelligence and awareness. And I really think that when people do this, that's when we're able to come together in community in more supportive ways and bigger ways to help co-create our vision for our lives and our vision for the world. So this topic of connection feels so relevant and necessary and important right now for all of those reasons. Again, both personally, collectively, and I feel like dance is a really powerful avenue to explore that. So that's why I'm so excited to have this conversation today.
I share that excitement as well. There are many layers to connection. Where would you like to start?
Yeah. So also to give people an insight, Nii and I are also going to be collaborating on a dance event coming up soon in Baltimore called Connect, and we'll talk more about it as we continue. And I would love to know too of like, why did you say yes to collaborating on this event? Why is connection an important theme or topic for you in your own life or your own dance experience?
Yeah. Okay. So that's an excellent question. How can I answer this? I feel like primarily the thing most people around the world are searching for is connection, and it comes in many shapes and forms. And I think sometimes there's a feeling of the disconnect within us that drives people to sort of try and find a way to bridge that. So it's like sometimes when we're in relational dynamics with other people, whether we're in conversation or whether we're dancing, it's like the connections that we make with people help us to connect more deeply with ourselves. So for me, this has been a little bit of a almost 2-decade long journey in sort of like understanding connection a little bit better, forming different kinds of connection with people, exploring them in many, many diverse ways, and then realizing that the more that I took the time to delve into this huge relational topic, the more I was learning about myself, the more I was able to connect with other people, and the more I had compassion, empathy, and understanding for the history people carry with them throughout their lives as they make decisions both on and off the dance floor. And I think I've come into a really deep understanding or awareness of how much the body stores a lot of the emotion and processes we have internally around relating.
Yeah. So one thing that just came to my mind is I'd be curious to hear, how would you even define connection? Like, what does connection really mean to you? I mean, sure, there's lots of different layers, but what comes to your mind when I ask that?
Let's explore a few different layers. I think one of the layers of connection and what makes people feel connected, what makes me feel personally connected, is this sense of like having been seen, felt, heard, or understood. And I think this can happen in a number of ways. It can happen through touch, it can happen through conversation, it can happen through an exchange of energy, emotionally. And, some people feel it more sort of in one layer than in the other, but we all have the capacity to feel it in these many different layers. So for me, connection is really about, like, another lens I would look at this with is like acceptance, presence, being enough, being able to create a moment both within and outside of yourself with somebody else who carries a completely different history, completely different perspective, maybe even different values, and the simplicity of how that feeling just kind of expands within you, connecting you to more of yourself, leaving you lighter, leaving you recharged, leaving you more alive.
Yeah. So connection, the layers being seen, felt, heard, understood, and knowing that there's different capacities of connection. There's physical touch, there's connection in conversation, there's connection in energy. So that can look different across all different types of experiences. And I love what you pointed to of like acceptance, presence, enoughness, because that like both presence and acceptance for me and enoughness, like all of those things are so connected. And when I think about presence, it's like if someone is in their head, judging themselves, not accepting themselves, it can be very hard to be present with someone else if I'm just thinking about, what do you think about me? And oh, I shouldn't have done that. And oh, I shouldn't have said that. So I love that you highlighted of like those three key like concepts of acceptance, presence, enoughness.
Yeah, like I want to touch on that a little bit because, like, now that we're talking about it, it's like I realized when we show up, like coming to a little bit of the energy we show up with in an interaction or in dance, when we show up with this energy of feeling like we're not enough or not fully accepting ourselves, I think what ends up happening is we look out into the world for confirmation of the things we feel insecure about. And the thing about perception is when you look for something else in the world, you will find it. Kind of thing that like, it's almost like a psychological phenomenon. So it's like the mindset that you have and the energy that you bring into interaction will validate your worst fear about yourself or your biggest insecurity about yourself. So dance becomes a little bit of like this space where we can know that up front and have a new way of noticing that and showing up for the occasion of writing about that. And I really love that about dance.
Yeah. I remember being at a dance social a couple months ago and like craving connection. And sometimes at socials, there's not, well, I guess it's dependent, but not that much talking. Like you're just dancing. And I remember feeling like, wow, I really am missing this feeling of connection right now. I wish I could talk to people on that conversational level, on that relational level. And I caught myself in that moment focusing on what I saw was lacking, what I felt like was missing, maybe what I was doing. And then I asked myself of, okay, how can I show up in the energy that I wish to be reciprocated? And even if it's not reciprocated, like I can still choose to show up with presence, to show up with friendliness. I can try to initiate conversations. And if it's received and reciprocated, amazing. If it's not, that's okay too. So like you said, of like, we see what we expect to see. And if we're expecting that people are judging us or no one's friendly here or, XYZ, this is not possible, that's what we're going to experience. And I'm curious if like what comes up for you when you hear that, and also if you've ever caught yourself in that kind of moment and what helped you shift your perception.
Yeah. Okay. So I've definitely had that kind of moment before, many, many times over the years. And I think having those moments is a normal part of the dance journey. And I think some people really struggle with that more than others. And I think the important thing there is knowing that upfront is helpful, and we don't maybe do enough to like have community conversations where we share that. And for me, it was really difficult in the beginning. I mean, sometimes I would go home after like a social, after a class, and like my ego had been flattened, I've been humbled. I'm feeling not so great about my dance ability. There's many times where I thought about quitting dance in the past. And the more I talk to dancers, the more I realize like, yeah, everyone's been through this stage, but not everyone makes it to the other side of this where you grow past that because you like acquire the tools that you need to make the shift from wanting to go to a dance class or social to benefit from the experience, to benefit from the moment, to becoming the person that shows up with the energy of being ready to build the moments, being ready to contribute to the energy. And that shift is a little bit different than a lot of some of the other shifts you may experience in dance. It's a very, like, that kind of shift happens faster, easier, and more effectively when there's a sense of community in the space that you're joining, and there is time to actually talk to people, to get to know people, to see and dance with people, not just at the one event, but over and over again. And this is part of the reason why local socials are really important and local classes are really important. They're some of the best places to go to work through this and build yourself up to somebody that actually ends up being, that source of positivity, of a great experience, of a guiding light into how we can all come together and contribute the best of ourselves to alchemize whatever we find into something that's even better, something that's giving even more to the newer people than maybe we received when we first joined the dance community.
So one thing I'm really hearing is like, instead of, and this applies whether you're at a dance social or any other kind of social event, if you're going to it thinking, this is what I want to get from this. I want people to be nice to me. I want people to like me. I want people to do this and this and this, versus asking yourself, how do I want to contribute to this space?
Yeah.
How do I want to show up for people? How do I what if I sought out the people who maybe were sitting alone and made an effort to connect with them or share with them? Like, what do I want to build or pour into this, instead of thinking of like, what do I want to extract or get out from this?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really heard in what you're saying.
Yeah. And if I can expand on that a little bit, I feel like when you practice that at dance, you find that starts to bleed into other areas of your life, and you start to show that kind of initiative and proactivity. And that's a very strong alchemizing agent, that toolkit, that skill benefits you in multiple contexts in life. So it's like dance is kind of gifting you the opportunity to do that when the stakes are low, so you can also take advantage of it when the stakes are high.
Yeah. And I hear this from my fellow Zouk dancers all the time of like, Zouk and partner dance in general feels like such a metaphor for life and a sandbox and a playground for life, of everything that we experience relationally on the dance floor, like you said, can be translated off of the dance floor as well.
Yes.
So I love that reminder.
Mhm.
And I'm curious too of what do you think, and this could be many different reasons for many different people. And I would also be curious too of like if you're noticing like more people being curious about dance or being drawn to dance, or like why do you feel like dance is such a powerful, obviously like the physical connection, but like a powerful draw for connection? Like why is dance such a deep medicine for all of this?
That's a really good question as well. I have some thoughts. I have a lot of theories. I will share some of the ones that are on my mind at the moment. I think that dance is one of those unique activities that brings together multiple layers of our being, multiple layers of our interests, multiple layers of our identity. It allows us to share that with somebody else or other people in a way that I think probably feels a lot simpler and easier and straight to the core of care and need and desire and belonging than a lot of other interactions in our life afford us. You know? And it's like, I think people go to the dance space for many different reasons. We're not all there just to move our body and dance. That may be a common shared interest, but in addition to that, people are going and looking for friendship. They're looking for community. They're looking for themselves. They're looking for something to leave them feeling excited again, something to spark a new connection in their lives. They're looking for many, many, many things. And I think dance is one of the places where you can meet people that come from different backgrounds, and you can almost sort of count on each night being an opportunity to meet somebody that has a completely different mindset or is from a completely different background. So it's like, in a way, there's like hope and opportunity in going to the dance scene to make connections to different aspects of yourself, different aspects of your history, different
Mm.
interests that you're working on. And it's like to go to one place and have a magical opportunity in any one of these areas feels like a really, really exciting prospect.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's like I'm just thinking of I know you offer your hugging workshops and
Mhm.
how you talk about at those workshops of like we're so starved for not just physical touch, but human connection and
Mm.
care. And there's not that many opportunities, I feel like, out in the world in other ways that facilitate and foster these levels of connection. And to be able
Mhm.
to do that in a safe, structured, supported way
Mhm.
that you can meet all kinds of people. Like, I feel like there's not that many other experiences that offer this.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit like there's a lot of other spaces outside of dance, not all of them, but quite a few of them. There's like almost like a scarcity framework or mentality going on around touch. It's like touch is inappropriate, it's disrespectful, it's complicated, all of this stuff. So it's like dance is a space where you go and touch is the language. Something you can take for granted will happen. And so you're able to receive platonic touch. You're able to receive touch that feels comforting or exciting or all these different things. And it's like
Mhm.
you can be almost like unapologetic about having that desire. And then when you meet
Mhm.
someone that shares that desire, it can be a really wonderful experience.
Mhm. Yeah, so good. Okay, so before I continue on to some other questions, are there any questions that are coming up that you want to ask me right now?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, can you talk to me a little bit about when you started dancing? What was like one of the most challenging things you faced, and what was one of the most rewarding things rewarding experiences you had? Why are you still in dance? Why are you still excited about dance? And how did the contrast between these two things, put you on this path?
Hmm. So it's interesting. I didn't grow up like in dance classes like some girls do. So it wasn't really until college that I took my first partner dance class. I
Oh.
took salsa for the first time. I can't remember if when I was a teenager, like I might have taken, I don't know, a hip hop class that I was terrible at or something in high school, but it didn't last very long. Um, so what drew me to that, you know, I don't know, it's interesting, but my ancestors, my grandparents were ballroom dancers, and I grew up in a very, like, musical family. So, I think there's something in my blood, and truly I believe in everyone's blood. Like, I feel like if we all go back generations enough, all of our ancestors danced. Like that was part of culture. It was part of what it meant to be human. So I do think there's just like ancestral roots in the desire to dance and the desire to connect with music. I've always been a drummer. So I think there was something innately that just drew me to that. And then once I experienced it for the first time in college, it's like everything that you've been talking about, everything that's, being seen, felt, heard, understood, the physical connection. Like I also was never a big drinker or partier. So like dance was always my social outlet and social avenue over the years. And challenges that I've experienced, when I was younger in my 20s, different challenges of partnerships and relationships feeling threatened by dance and feeling like I had to stop dancing and did stop dancing for multiple years because of romantic relationships that didn't approve of that. So I feel like there are different layers of obstacles like that that get in people's way, whether they're partners, whether there's different cultural and societal programmings of what is or isn't appropriate. So being able to like shed and release all of those external things and be able to come back to, okay, this is something that really lights me up. It's really something that nourishes me. It's something that fulfills me. I'm actually no longer willing to say no to this. And if there are people who want to be in relationship with me in life, that is a part of my life. So I really had to accept that and go through all kinds of other connection things and relationship things to process that and move through all of those things. So those were some initial challenges. And I will say also on the journey, that moment that I described at that social, when I was just like, shoot, like, why am I doing this? I don't feel the connection that I want anymore. Like, what am I even dancing Zouk for in the first place? And I was able to come back to okay, I can be a catalyst for what I desire. If I want deeper connection, I can do that. It's why I asked you to create Connect with me, because I was like, if I can't find this and what I want externally, I am going to create it. I am going to be the builder of that because I know what's possible through dance. And I 1000% believe other people want deep connection too. And I think it takes intention and care to invite that in and create opportunities for that. So that's part of it. And the last thing I'll say is, especially as a newer dancer to whatever modality. So I lead and follow in Zouk. And I feel like it took me, a couple months to feel at least proficient as a follower, that I could drop into a dance without like thinking so hard about it. I'm still working on it, but it took a couple months.
Do you have a favorite role?
A favorite role?
Yeah. Do you prefer to lead or prefer to follow?
I'm really enjoying both right now. And what I was going to say is, on a journey as a lead felt harder to become more proficient at, because you're the one directing, you're the one leading. And to be able to get through those moments, those awkward moments, those moments where you feel like you're like thinking really hard, took dedication and intention and like a reminder of like, okay, why am I doing this? What am I getting out of this? So it took like showing up again and again. And I think whether this is you're applying this to dance or you're applying this to other relationships, to also have patience and trust the unfolding and continue to show up for that. And it's something you talked about, like the importance of social dancing and social classes. I dance in Baltimore. I'm part of a studio called Tribe. And it took me a couple months to feel like connected to those people. And at first I was kind of like, I'm like feeling like the odd man out. Other people had started earlier than me. But the more I showed up, the deeper those connections became. So I think like the theme that's coming to my mind is like patience, being willingness to show up again and again, having compassion for yourself through the journey, and really showing up with, what do I want to contribute? What do I want to offer? Or some things that really helped me navigate all of that.
Yeah, I love that we can talk about both the follow and lead roles, having done both. But I like, it means a lot to me to like hear you talk about the lead role and some of the challenges associated with that, because I think, that's not a thing that a lot of people are always aware of or are willing to experience in order to like gain a deeper understanding or appreciation of. So But I also wanted to say, like, following is no joke. I every time like I follow, whether I'm following like a male lead or a female lead, it's like an act of some serious vulnerability. And there's a lot of things that show up that I have to work through in a different way than I would if I was a lead, you know? And then
Mhm.
like I think we also trivialize a little bit, like as leads, um, what our followers might be going through and how deeply their emotional, mental, and physical states can be affected by not just what we're executing, but how we're executing it and how much care for them is a priority in the way we execute. How
Mhm.
much how intentional we are with being mindful of like things like boundaries, the
Mhm.
degree of touch literacy that we bring to the to the experience, and how much or how little that may allow for a dynamic conversation that leaves two partners feeling connected to each other.
Mhm. Yeah. And I'm curious if anything is standing out right now from both the lead perspective and the follow perspective of that not only applies in dance, but could apply in life of what helps create connection, both as someone who's like leading, whether an interaction or a dance or an experience, as well as someone who's like participating. Yeah, anything that's coming to your mind of like what helps create connection from both of those perspectives.
We might have to ping pong on this because there's a lot of things, and I want to see if we can talk about the things that are in our experiences that feel like the more impactful reasons first. So I think for me, one of those things is coming, like choosing to leave judgment off the dance floor, judgment of self, judgment of others, and all the shapes that they may take. Uh, because I think that judgment is one of the things that really becomes a blocker for connection. It gets us in our head. It causes a response in our body. It closes our hearts. And it's like a lot of times it's the judgment we have for ourselves that we then look out into the world and find in others. And I think connection requires a certain level of openness that becomes a lot more difficult to find when the blocker of judgment is in the way. So,
Mhm. Yeah. 100%. And at Sparkle Space, so if you're not familiar with me or what I lead, I also lead something called Sparkle Space. That's like ecstatic dance, heart centered movement. And what we always say is that while we can't guarantee this is a judgment free zone, we do invite you to release judgment and first practice that with yourself. Because if we're judging ourselves, we're going to be much more likely to carry that judgment outwards and vice versa. If we're compassionate with ourselves, if we're give ourselves grace, we will be much more likely to offer that same compassion and grace to other people. So I love that
mhm.
reminder of like as much as possible. And granted, there's moments that it might come up, but being able to catch it and see, okay, can I release this judgment for self or others, whichever is coming up.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it was if we can just as a default walk in with the mindset that everyone that's showing up in dance is committing an act of vulnerability. Everyone that's showing up for dance has a whole life and history going on. That may mean that on some day or the other, they may not show up as their best self. That should be okay because dance is a space in which you can show up as you are and it makes space for you. It has energy available to alchemize whatever you've been through in that day. I think if we can make those assumptions and instead of like maybe forming judgments and opinions around the experiences we're having with people, which sometimes can be a little bit awkward in the beginning as we're figuring things out and all that,
Mhm.
um, then the safety that is created by that
Mhm.
allows people to sort of open up, get out of their own way, relax, focus on the human experience first,
Mhm.
and then find that connection is thriving because of that simple choice.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
it's simple, but
Yeah.
maybe not always.
And this is one of those things that I feel like is so foundational to that concept of like individuation and unity consciousness, how
Mhm.
you show up as an individual and how you show up in collective community. And what was coming up for me as you were talking is like being able to give someone the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
And instead of like say someone turns down a dance or someone seems off, like instead of judging them or judging yourself of like, oh, they don't like me, I did something wrong, or why are they being such a jerk or whatever, like being able to bring in that human element and believe like maybe that's just what they have space for, what they have capacity for in that moment. It doesn't have to mean anything about me. Whatever's going on with that human is okay. How can I offer them grace in this moment? And yeah, just really give someone the benefit of the doubt instead of being so quick to judge and point and blame and criticize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. And it's like if someone isn't ready to have a dance with you in this moment, probably means that the dance isn't going to be as magical or as connected as it could have been. And it's a gift that they're unwilling to show up as less than they know that they can, or less than they need to in that moment, and that they trust you to be able to receive that no and still be well.
Mhm.
Like that no is for them, not against you. And so
Mhm.
that to be okay makes that okay for everybody to be able to leverage when they need it.
Mhm.
It allows them to be kind to themselves, to give themselves the rest that they need, to give themselves the space that they need, so that when they do show up, they can show up in the fullness of connection.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's so huge. And I'm trying to remember where I heard this, but I feel like I heard someone talking recently about how saying no is an act of generosity to yourself and the other person. Receiving someone's no can be an act of generosity and really just offering them that kindness and again, acceptance and just letting it be okay. Like you said, it just gives everyone permission to actually voice and express what they truly want and for that to be honored and for us to not make up stories or just like carry all of this heaviness about whatever we could have made that mean.
Yeah. And like the more I think about it, this conversation has me making some new connections. Like out in the world today, like I think there is this thing about like there being a lot of people that identify as people pleasers, right? Something in our history built us up to be a certain kind of person. And part of what that means is saying no is difficult, or saying no feels painful. So like we loosely will call this like people pleasing, right? But it's like if we wanted to make that better as a community, then making it okay to receive a no in the dance community actually allows people to practice the skill in a very safe environment that allows them to build a skill that they may need out there in the world.
Mhm.
And like the thought that we could be even gifting people the experience of this so that they can go out there and show up in their full authenticity, absent of this pressure to say yes when really a no is what will leave them feeling, feeling well, feeling rested, taken care of, feeling like they've honored their own boundaries,
Mhm. 100%. There's so much that we can practice again in life from dance.
For
It's
sure.
this beautiful sandbox. And what was coming up for me too when you talked about recognizing that even just like showing up to dance is an act of vulnerability. Like I think that applies to so many things. Showing up honestly to a conversation, showing up on a first date, showing up, speaking your truth in whatever kind of way and really being able to honor and celebrate each other for showing up vulnerably, honestly, in all of our imperfect human glory. And this is one like huge aha I've had so far, even in the planning of this event connect. I realized that initially I was thinking of, okay, what it means to be a strong individual. I have to be 100% personally responsible for everything. And I have to like be emotionally regulated at all moments and in all times and just be this kind of like perfect person. And that's what it meant to show up powerfully in community. And what I realized even in the co-creation of this, of like, that's not what it's about. It's not about showing up perfectly every single second of every single day. I really believe it's about showing up honestly, compassionately, and again, that kind of like judgment of not judging yourself, not judging other people, like giving yourself the benefit of the doubt too. And knowing that if you're doing your best, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to show up, even in your all messy, imperfect human glory, like all of that counts. Like, you don't have to be perfect or completely healed or whatever in order to show up powerful in community.
Yeah. I'm like writing something down to remind myself of this moment here, because like, you're absolutely right. Like, and I think like in a way, showing up with strength, showing up powerfully is really more about showing up with healthy relationships, showing up with healthy relating practices. Like, the more connected you are to everybody else, the less important it becomes that you have to be strong in all these like hundreds and thousands of ways, because you're held by the community, you're guided by the community, you're supported by the community. It's like the relief and the sense of ease that comes with that, I think, helps you be able to see things more clearly, see people more clearly, connect with them more powerfully.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you can talk more about healthy relating practices. And also, I would love to start sharing about Connect and this event that we're creating and how we're taking some of these concepts that we've been talking about and actually creating a space to drop into deeper connection.
Yeah. So, I mean, Connect in part started because we had a conversation around like what it takes to build connection. What is connection? And what are the tools people might need or they can leverage in order to be able to show up more powerfully in connection, right?
Pausing this interview for a moment to share something really special. I am so grateful my intuition guided me to create Connect, and I am constantly amazed by what happens when I have the courage to follow those intuitive nudges and sparks on my heart. So, if you are listening to this and you want to strengthen that connection with your intuition, with your inner compass, so that you can trust yourself on a deeper level, so that you feel guided when you're navigating uncertain territory, or that you just open up to whatever intuitive guidance and wisdom would serve you most right now, I created something for you. Go to ginakasbar.com/intuition to access this really powerful intuitive tool that will help you strengthen this connection. All you have to do is take a deep breath, set the intention to be guided, and then allow your heart to help you choose the card on the screen that's calling to you right now. And once you do, you'll uncover the intuitive practice that would serve you most right now. I'll send you an email with the full breakdown of how to do it, as well as 5 intuitive practices that you can access and play with anytime you want to unlock intuitive wisdom. So go to ginakasbar.com/intuition to give it a try. And feel free to message me and reach out and let me know how it goes. All right, my friend. And with that, let's get back to the interview.
And I think that one of the things I'm excited to do in our workshop is to be able to just expose people to these tools and have us all have a fun time exploring them, sharing what we are learning and how we are growing from them. And ultimately, the biggest success I think that can come out of this workshop is if people find this valuable enough to then start to consider how they may leverage these tools off the dance floor, not just on the dance floor.
Yeah. So when you talk about healthy relating practices, what are some of those healthy relating practices?
So I think like how we talk to people really matters. Like, people have different kinds of backgrounds, different identities, and different lenses through which they view the world. And I think we tell ourselves a lot of stories, and it can be very easy to find ourselves in a story we've told many times or that has been told to us, and to look out into the world at another person and try to make them a part of that story when they really aren't, because they have their own story. So I think a really healthy relating practice is to be an active listener in every kind of interaction. When someone's saying something to you, or if they're showing intent on the dance floor, it's still the same thing. They're expressing. And so it's important to try and listen with an ear of understanding where the person is coming from, what they're actually trying to say, and to find opportunities to actively participate in that conversation to make that the thing that they're trying to communicate is being understood in the way that they experienced it, not in the way that we judge it, not in the way that we choose to see it, not in the way that we can't help but feel about it, but through that person's experience, like as the conversation's unfolding. I read this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the principles Stephen R. Covey, the author of the book, had mentioned in it was seek first to understand, then to be understood. And it's like, it's that kind of thing. That's a really healthy relating practice. It helps you understand also like where you might be being judgmental, where you may have some sort of prejudice, where you may have had an unconscious bias. And like the thing that, when you infuse that with, that really brings it alive is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Be curious to understand more. Be curious to ask more. To be curious to understand more deeply the person in front of you, not just the words that you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
Sure.
So everything that we've been talking about when we've been planning Connect, there's both of those pieces of like the connection to yourself as an individual so that you can be aware of your own emotional state, internal state, energetic state, physical state, and then to also turn that lens of curiosity and presence to other people so that it's not just this hyper focus on self, it's both. It's like, yes, be aware of yourself, and also how can I listen deeply? And there's going to be opportunities to both speak this in like conversation, like you said, these different layers of connection, physical touch, connection, relation. So there's going to be opportunities for all of that. It's all going to be invited into this container to invite in listening, presence, curiosity, playfulness. So I'm just really excited for the space that we're creating and the different layers of exploring all the different facets of what connection can be.
Yeah, me too. It's like, this, it's almost like a collection of intelligences: body, emotion, your mental intelligence, and then almost like an energetic or like spiritual intelligence as well to it,
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of what the exercises are going to be designed to do is to kind of expose these different layers in ways that we can talk about it and feel in a very like embodied way. And it's going to be a little bit vulnerable, and hope you're all excited for that.
Yeah, and that's a thing too, that for sure, like this took vulnerability for me to say yes to, for me to ask you to do how you feel about it. But it's like we're asking other people who are showing up to this. So this is like a Sparkle Space Dance Flow Haven collaboration. And I was so excited for this because there's so many people at Sparkle Space, that's typically a solo dance experience, who've been wanting to experience partner dance and have been hesitant, have all kinds of stories or blocks of what feels accessible, what doesn't. And then there's all kinds of people in my zoo community who don't necessarily have a solo dance practice. So we're inviting all these people to come together and explore both sides of this. And I know that's going to potentially require vulnerability. So it's like, I have to be willing to do that first if I'm asking other people to do it. So just like, thank you for saying yes to this journey and for us to be able to be the leaders and be willing to do it first so that we can create and hold the space for other people.
Yeah, one aspect I'm really excited about in regards to this workshop is how we're really aiming for it to be dance agnostic, so that the different exercises and the different tools people acquire support them in not just being able to have their solo practice or to be able to do dance, part of dance in general. But it's like almost no matter what style you go to, you understand that these tools are available and they allow you to be able to connect in the ways that you want to and to navigate the different dynamics of the dance floor in ways that leave you feeling connected to yourself, to others, and to community.
100%. Yeah, I'm so excited. As we begin to wrap up here, are there any questions that I didn't ask or that are coming to your mind that, you would like to speak out?
Yeah. What do you think, like, what is one thing that somebody attending the Collect workshop can do to prepare for the experience that they're going to have there and be able to show up for it in the fullness of themselves?
One thing they can do to prepare. Show up. Like there's so many times where people come to Sparkle Space and they've been thinking about coming for like weeks, months, and they finally made it. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I just showed up. So just like showing up is huge. And I don't know if I'm ever going to host an event like this again, if you and I will ever collaborate again. I have no idea what's going to happen. So if you're listening to this and you're in Baltimore and this resonates with you, please, like, do yourself a favor and just come. Because so much of this is you don't know until you experience it. So I think as far as like preparation, just like if you're feeling a spark, a draw, a pull, and there's hesitations or there's something in your brain saying like, oh, I can't, I wouldn't be able to do that. I invite you to just show up and to trust that call, that pull, that spark in your heart if it is saying yes, and be open to see what happens and let go of any expectations of what you think this is going to be like, what you think is going to happen, and just follow that curiosity. So that's the first thing.
Yep. I would say come open, come excited, and come rested. Definitely rest before you come. It's going to be a bit of an involved workshop. Come ready to have fun. Come energized.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that's coming to my mind that we've been talking about is like thinking about how you want to show up, how you want to contribute. And granted, we're going to talk about this at the beginning of the experience as well, like setting intentions together. And if you're thinking of like, wow, I really would love to connect with people there. I would really love to have powerful conversations or whatever it is for you. Thinking about how can I show up that would help me do that? Okay, if I want to have powerful conversations, maybe I'm going to set the intention that I'm willing to say hello to a new person that I've never met before. I'm going to show up and smile at someone. I'm going to start a conversation. So to really ask yourself what you would like to contribute, what's the energy you want to show up in could be something to think about before. Well,
Excellent.
mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions for me?
Mm-hmm.
So many questions.
I have so many things we could talk about. Yeah. Is there anything, and I mean, we've talked about so much of like what is possible through connection, what's possible through dance, what's possible in this collaboration. Well, I will ask you this. You know, you talked about vulnerability, and I said that it definitely feels vulnerable for me to lean into this. Was this something that felt vulnerable for you to say yes to?
Yes, definitely. I've done a lot of podcasts, and I do talk about my ideas quite a bit, but this is a little bit of a different format for me to speak, so publicly about ideas that mean the world to me. I've basically been in development for the last 2 decades, on and off the dance floor. My closest friends know connection is kind of centric to how I move through the world. And this is the first time that I've taken the opportunity to speak out into the world a little bit about my ideas in this way before a workshop that is centered around what I care the most about in dance and in life. So yeah, I came in a little bit nervous, a little bit energized. I got comfortable pretty fast, and now I'm already excited for the workshop.
Nice. And my next question, I think, will help other people if they're feeling the same way. So knowing that you had those feelings, like what helped you overcome that, show up for this? And again, I think that this could be relevant if someone is feeling like they want to come to this workshop, but it feels vulnerable. Like what helped you get past that moment and say like, yes, I do want to do this. I want to share these ideas. I want to be on this podcast. I want to show up for this experience.
And the phrase I would use is coming to center. And people do this in different ways. The way that I do this is with breath, breathing more deeply, connecting more to my core, grounding within myself in who I am, what I'm here for, what I'm trying to accomplish, what my intentions are. And then just trusting myself to be enough, trusting myself to show up and to be ready, trusting myself to be okay, even if I don't have every little detail figured out, because those are the gifts that I was born with. And those are the gifts that I've used to connect with people over the years. And I need to trust those gifts. I need to trust in the knowing and not always care so much about the how, to trust the how to unfold as I show up.
Yeah, so good. And it's like, again, what I'm hearing, if you're listening to this and you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling nervous, you're thinking about coming to this event, but you're not sure, what would it feel like to take a deep breath, come back to center, remind yourself of like, okay, if connection is something that matters, if exploring dance is something that matters, am I willing to trust myself, to believe that I'm going to be able to navigate this? I'm going to be able to receive whatever experience would serve me most in this moment, and to come back to that center and let go of needing to know
Thank you.
exactly what happened or exactly how it's going to unfold, and to show up with that trust, that groundedness, that centeredness. So I love that reminder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget it.
Yeah. So if there was one thing you really wanted people to remember from this conversation or to take away, what would that be?
So I think I personally find this really helpful, and I'd like to encourage people to adopt this philosophy. But it's the idea that connection already exists. We don't generate it, we don't create it. It exists. It's a baseline, is who we are.
Mm.
And so when we're feeling like we don't have connection within ourselves or outside of ourselves, it's not really something that we need to then figure out how to build. What's really happening is that we have barriers in the way of connection. We need to think about what we can remove in order to allow connection to flow. Sometimes, that's shame. Sometimes it's guilt. Sometimes it's fear or anxiety. It can be a number of things. It can be judgment. And typically, breathing into ourselves, centering and grounding ourselves helps us detach from some of these things we bring into dance that become the barriers to connection. So how you prepare, how you show up is important. I mean, we're having people come a little bit earlier to be able to relax, see the space, get comfortable, breathe, maybe meet a few people before we even start the workshop. I highly encourage people to do that. And when you go out dancing, if you go out to any occasion, even if it's just a conversation or hang out with a friend, I recommend taking a few moments for yourself to ground and connect in yourself before you then extend that connection to another. I find it really helpful always.
Beautiful. Thank you for that reminder that connection exists with all of us. It's inherent, it's our baseline. And if you're feeling blocked in it, it's like, what can you let go of? Whether it's judgment, shame, distraction, to help you come back to your own center so that you can connect deeply with other people. So I love it. So if you're listening to this and your heart is saying yes, the event information for Connect will be in the show notes. It's on June 20th, Saturday in Baltimore. So definitely come if you're feeling that call. You can also find both of us on Instagram. All of our information will be below. You can find the link to this event in our bios as well. And I would love if you could share, where can people connect with you? Because obviously you are a masterful dance instructor. You do private lessons, you do all kinds of things. And one of the biggest reasons I wanted to collaborate with you is because of the care and intention that you pour into what you share and how much it's contributed to me in my own dance journey, your feedback, your insight, the practices. So for people who do want to deepen their dance experience, how can they connect with you?
Really. So I spend most of my time in DC. That's where I'm based, at least for the dance side of my life. And I think some of the ways people find me and connect with me, the top ways are: one, on Instagram. You can find me at danceflowhaven, and on my website, www.danceflowhaven.com. But I also have a WhatsApp group for my community, urban kids and Brazilian Zouk, and in my community, a lot of dancers that do both and other things. If you'd like to join that community and know about when I'm having free workshops or paid workshops, or when I'm organizing activities around dance and relating, send me a message on either of those platforms and I will connect you to the group.
Awesome. Yeah. I highly recommend getting in Nii's worlds. Like you've probably seen in this conversation, it goes so much deeper than just dance and technique. And that's why I'm so excited for Connect. So thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I cannot wait to share it with the community.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks so much for listening, and I hope something in this episode resonated with you. And if you know someone else you think would love it, spread the love and go ahead and forward this episode to them as well. All right, my friend. And don't forget, if you want to connect with your intuition, go to ginakasbar.com/intuition to discover what intuitive practice could serve you most right now. All right, until next time, don't forget to follow your spark.